Hello, hello. It is the after lunch hour, the time when biologically and physically the body requires the blood to rush to our stomachs to help digest food, which is why people often feel so tired after lunch and why after lunch sessions need to be interactive, because your brain doesn't have as much blood as it's used to because it's helping you digest your food. So we are going to begin to do our breakout work in a minute. In your, I was looking for the agendas. In your agendas, it talks about a workshop that was going to be happening that we were really excited to believe, called Radical Self-Reliance for People with Disabilities. And I had met some wonderful people in Harney County, African-American man who uses a wheelchair, who teaches this at Burning Man every year. It's a great workshop. And Suzanne Settle, his partner, who's the 911 dispatcher there. They were gonna do this workshop. Well, Polo's sister passed away unexpectedly, and she was his primary caregiver. And that's why they're not here. And I get it, because I've just spent the past 5 weeks helping somebody I love dearly die at home. So sometimes you make your choices about where you need to be. And so we don't have that workshop. But I believe that the materials that Suzanne sent, that Paul Gray, Paul, are you out there? I can't see, thank you. Did you bring those materials? Okay, so our commitment to you is that after this conference, event, I keep calling it conference, event, we will send the talking points for that workshop and whatever slides there are so people can get it. It's not as great as sitting through the workshop would have been, but at least it's a beginning of getting some access to some really cool information about how you can take care of yourself in an emergency if you use a wheelchair, if your generators go out, if you're blind, if you have invisible disabilities that people haven't recognized, and how can you take care of yourself. So we wanted to cover that. That was a request a lot of people around the state asked for. So what we're going to do instead of that is we're going to move right into the after lunch work so that the brain can get back out of your bellies, and the blood can get back out. Maybe the brain's in your bellies too, right? Mine might be. The blood can get out of your bellies and back into your brain. So one question, we want this activity to be as representative as possible, and Anna's been going around trying to get people to move, and I know you all have numbers, and I'm going to go through the instructions with you carefully in a moment. But you had a lot of time to get to know each other during the breaks and during lunchtime. So my request is that if your table that you are sitting at is a table in which there is no one who identifies as having a disability, whether it's an invisible disability or whatever, then we would like you to let us know that your table does not have that. So could you guys do kind of a quick self-check on that? Any tables that we want to make sure we have some folks with disabilities to participate with you at? Because I have some folks right up front here, great opportunities to get to work with Jan and Barbara, who are people with disabilities who are willing to come to your table. So they're saying right behind you, Jan. So Barbara or Jan, there you go. She knows them. Thank you guys for being upfront about that. Is there another table that, yes, over here. Okay, Barbara. Okay, now I feel like an auctioneer now. No, we have another table going three times. We have a third table out there that doesn't, okay, back in the corner we have a table. Is there a person with a disability here who would voluntarily go join that table of wonderful people who want to have your perspective, and that table over there? Oh, you're going to join. I was going to say, I think you qualify. She's coming your way. All right. Excellent. Thank you. I realized that I put the instructions to the activity at my table. This is kind of embarrassing. So I'm going to read the slides, which is one of the things that presenters should never do. It's really boring. But here we go. I'll say to you up front, first, we synthesized all of the comments and the concerns into 4 open-ended questions, because we couldn't have people, if you've looked at that report, you'll see that there are multiple recommendations and multiple comments. So we did our best to try to synthesize what we need more information 4 into 4 open questions. So you had a tag around your neck that was a tag that identifies the number of the question. You know what? I can move wherever I want. I can talk to you while I go to get the instructions for this. So check your name tag. That's going to end up being the number of the question that your group is going to work on. And there will be someone coming to join your table who are facilitators from the advisory council to work with you. So while these guys are getting settled, I'm going to let the facilitators move into the tables now if you guys are here and ready to go. And their job is going to be to kind of follow the ground rules, which I'm going to cover in a moment when I find that paper, and assist us in gathering your information. At your table, you're going to want to find somebody to be a note taker. It might be them, but somebody else can volunteer. We know there's going to be a little bit of chaos as we kick this going because there's a lot of you in the room. So if we could bring up the slide, because I'm embarrassed to say that I have no idea where. They're outside? Okay, facilitators, the question has been asked. Please raise your hand. Everybody who was an appointed facilitator, raise your hand. Okay. If you are not yet at a table, go to a table that does, now put your hand down. Now if you have a table that does not have a facilitator, please raise your hand. Okay, there we go. Match them up. Facilitators who are not yet at a table, go to those tables. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Enough facilitators? Not all the facilitators showed up. So this is an example of an emergency situation, which isn't really an emergency situation, but it gives us an opportunity to think on our feet here a little bit. So we don't have enough facilitators. So my recommendation is that the facilitators, tables that do not have facilitators, this is actually easier than moving the whole table. Please raise your hands again. Ask if there's somebody at your table who's comfortable facilitating the conversation. It's going to be a round robin, so that part of the facilitation is going to be fairly simple. And there are some ground rules that are going to come up on the screen. Here's what you're going to be doing. Anna's bringing the question that your table will talk to you about to you. You're going to have about an hour at your table to talk. That's good. That's a good amount of time to get into real conversation. At about 15 minutes before that hour is up, we're going to let you know that it's time to kind of transcribe and write down your recommendations and your thoughts. Everybody's voice is important, so please, if you don't participate, if you don't speak up, we're not going to get your point of view. That said, if you want to pass when it's your turn to talk, you can do so. And people will make sure, the facilitators will make sure to come back to you. We would like to listen with respect to one another. We don't need everybody to agree here. We just need you to share your points of view. There's no right or wrong at this point. There's no side conversations. If you're at your table and people are getting off on a side conversation, remind them that everything that's being said is important for the whole group. So and because there are so many different learning styles present at every table, we just need the conversations focused. It's okay to ask someone to rephrase or restate what they've just said to you, and no jargon, please, and no acronyms, because sometimes we don't understand what somebody means. So we can say, could you say that again, please, in a different way? Or we can ask clarifying questions. Okay, next, thank you. Then the next set of ground rules 2, like I just said, we don't have to agree with each other, so it's just more important that we share. I already said that about the acronyms. I already said that about staying focused. Oh, this is a safe space. It was said earlier this morning. I'm just going to reiterate that. We're going to record what you said, but we're not going to put your name next to it, so this is no opportunity to go, well, blah, blah said blah, blah. And it's really okay to have some fun and enjoy the conversation. Is there a table that does not feel that they've identified somebody to facilitate that wants help? Everybody's good? Oh, that makes me so happy. Good job, everybody. Good job pulling together in an emergency. Anna's got something to say to me. Could tables number 1, people with number 1s, raise your hand so she can see. Number 1s, hand up.
Just one person from each table.
One person.
Facilitator at each table.
Okay, whoever's facilitating at each table now, raise your hand. Okay, there's still some tables that no hand is up, and maybe if it's not a hand, nod your head. Table 2. Okay, there's 1, 2 facilitators for that. One over there. Okay. Number 3. Good, we're trying to make sure we have balanced coverage for these questions. Number 4. Oh, it looks really good. Well done. Good job, Anna. Okay, so here's the other cool thing. If your group is just such a great group of people talking together, sharing and respecting each other's opinion, that you come to all kinds of recommendations that you want carried forward to this committee before we say it's time to wrap it up, just pick another question and go ahead, because the more information we're able to gather, the more people's voices are able to be heard. People out in TV land, you get to do the same thing in your locations without the benefit of the people in this room. And you have the email address, and you've been contacting people and sending your questions forward. So we appreciate that, and we'll just let that happen. Okay, have I sufficiently confused you all? Is everybody ready? All right, so have fun. Let us know what you think we need to know. Thank you.
I want to talk to the folks on the phone. Yeah. All right. Hi there to the folks on the phone. This is Kristen Darmody, and I'm checking back in with you. I understand there are not very many people currently on the conference line. I would like to see if we can get folks who are on the conference line to join a different conference line that is attached to the webinar. It'll be a nice smaller group discussion. I'd like to give everyone the number to do that now. Operator, are folks still on the line?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, if folks want to write this down, this is the number that I would like you to call into. 877-402-9753. Again, the call-in number, 877-402-9753. You'll be asked for an access code. The access code is 9828863. Again, the access code is 9828863. Operator, could you open the lines so that folks can let me know if this is something they are able to do or not able to do? Okay, so is everybody okay with switching to the other conference line?
Yes, I'm ready to switch.
Great, thank you. And was there another comment?
More of the call-in number.
Sure. I'll repeat the call-in number and the access code. The call-in number, 877-402-9753. Access code, 9828863. Everybody okay? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hang up this line, and I will meet you all on the other conference line. Thank you.
Okay, good job. I'm going to, since we're ahead of schedule. Okay, my wonderful workers, you have no idea how wonderful it is to listen to all these conversations. I'm giving you your 15-minute begin to organize your thoughts onto the papers that we'll be collecting and prioritize your top 2 recommendations, issues, whatever it is, comments for the report backs after the break, if you would. Thank you. 15 minutes. Hello? Some of you are already leaving for your breaks, so I just want to let you know you still have at least 5 minutes to keep working. But in fact, we are, since we're ahead of schedule, it's wonderful. We will, after you finally do leave and your work done, we'll take a break until 2:30, and then we'll come back in here for the report backs, which I'm very, very excited and looking forward to hear. Okay? So those of you who are leaving quietly, thank you for doing so. wanted to, thank you, since we're moving this part, I wanted to make sure these people could see the thing and. Good. Okay. Thank you.
And I'll pull that cord.
Okay, what I want, so I can, so I was like, I was problem solving, I unplugged something, I got that far. I thought, God, they're gonna hate me for messing around with the plugs.
Do we want to turn this a little bit more?
Well, there's those people too, so it's tricky. So we have to.
Actually, if he's got the camera on you, they'll be able to see it on the
Oh.
screen.
You're right.
Sorry,
You know what? It was just, I was trying to clear sight lines for people over there. But yeah, you're right. It's on the screen. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to pull them back together then. Well, I am impressed. And you should all be impressed too. You worked through your break. This means that you were engaged. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. Woo. Yeah? Good conversations going on. Oh, this is so great. So I want to take just a moment to thank some folks I just thought of it. I wanted to thank the sound crew and the camera crew, for whom live streaming and making audio available to you would not be possible. Thank you, all of you. And I also thought you guys might all want to know that we had 180 people registered to come here, that we have 50 people participating remotely throughout the state for the first time. How cool is that? And that of the 180 who registered, 40 did not make it today. And we don't know why. But that's still close to 200 people participating in this event, right? So, woo, that's really good. Of which 10% of the people signed up requesting accommodations, and we don't really know if you didn't need accommodations, whether or not you're a person with a disability. But if we use national statistics and data to kind of help us, and the fact that some of us ransacked our personal networks and our Facebook groups to invite people, I think we probably have a solid 25 to 30% of people with disabilities participating between remotely and on here right now. Room to go, but that's a very good turnout, higher than the percentage of people with disabilities that exist in the data tracking systems. So with that, the lovely Emily Cervantes is going to come and be my runner, and we're going to have an adventure together, which is capturing your top points to take back. So as I mentioned, the papers at your table will be collected so that we can make sure to actually transcribe everything. But simply because we have 22 working tables here, we can't ask each table to tell us every single thing they thought, or unless you guys do want to stay until tomorrow. But I don't think so. So yeah, we haven't paid for it for them either. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and I asked you to do beforehand, was think of what your top 2 points are that you want to share, and I'll begin capturing them. What I'm writing will appear on the screen, so if you can't see me, even though I'll try to write with big letters because it's a big room, you should be able to catch it up there. And what I'll do also to help us is, if you hear another group say one of the 2 points that you've said, you don't have to repeat it. You can just say, we agreed with what came before, or very quickly come up with another new second point. Okay, and I believe we have roving mics again, and if not, could I ask my, thank you, one, maybe a second, there we go, coming around, blue card crew to walk the mics around to the tables. And I'm just going to start with what's in front of my face. Why not? And hopefully, if you haven't yet decided who is your presenter, or if you're co-presenting, cool, then do that while we're going. All right. table whatever, we'll call you table number first. There's going to be a mic. Wait for the mic because there's folks that will want to hear that, and the translators can work better when we shared that if they hear things amplified. So, a second, the green mic's activated, and who's got the second mic out is there a second? Okay, in the back. What color are you? Okay, blue. Blue and green are going hot. Yes. All right, we got 3, and yellow's being activated, or beige, or tasteful eggshell, depending on your way of looking at it. All right, so here we go. What do you guys got?
So the conversation we had was about establishing trust. I think our two biggest...
So question number, I'm sorry, just your 1?
Was it, I think, was it question 3?
Okay, I'm just going to do that so that when we're transcribing folks, that 3 means it was question 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we said the 2 biggest takeaways would be taking the time to learn the history, and that could be either of a population, of an organization, or just of an individual. Taking the time to hear out their story, what are the common barriers they may face, is a good first step to building trust. Let's see.
Take time to learn history. Sorry? Oh, could you read the question for them? That's an excellent point because not everybody worked on question 3.
Is this one here? Actually,
Okay.
Oh, it's actually question 2, I think.
Oh.
The building trust one?
Good thing you asked that question.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we had question 2. Question 2 reads, the importance of building trust was listed as a key finding in the statewide focus groups report. With this in mind, who are the most trusted people and organizations / groups in your community when it comes to building bridges between all communities of disability?
Okay. So one of your responses was take time to learn history because that will help you identify the
Yeah,
trustworthy
and that's
people.
the history, like I said, of
Okay.
a population, an organization, or an individual. After that, we would say that we had a lot. Sustainability, I think, is a key factor. So by that, we just mean if your organization has a particularly high rate of turnover, that's then taking the time to communicate with the organizations that you have worked with and have built that trust with, to show that while you may not still be working with that particular organization, you do care about the relationships that you've built, and that shows a commitment by the organization you work for to continue forming those relationships and to continue with the progress that you have made.
Excellent. All
yeah.
right. Thank you. I already just realized I should have 4 flip charts because it's going to be kind of tricky because why don't we just take all the question 2s in a row? This is called thinking on your feet. So your question 2 group, okay, back of the room, a question 2 group, and then take the microphones to them. So we'll start back there. That way we can put question 2 to rest when we're done. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Alita Ostrakovich. I'm from Washington County Emergency Management. So we had question 2. The 2 largest things we have to report out is first that as agencies and community or government groups, we cannot decide who is trusted within a community. Instead, we need to go into a community and ask them who they turn to and who they trust. And then as a government organization or an agency, we need to take this information, talk to the trusted sources, learn from them, and learn how they interact with their communities, and then imitate what they are doing so we can gain trust as well in the correct ways. Then our second point of topic was that trust comes from showing that you are hearing the community and acting upon what they're talking about. So this could be showing up when you're needed, or showing proof that you're working on something that they requested or a need that they have, and showing that it's not just fluff, that you're not just speaking because this is something you have to do, but you're actually interested in helping them become more prepared, helping them bridge the gaps in wherever they need help.
All right. So I'm shortening that to show up, share information, and support independence or something. What's the word you'd like me to use? Going once, going twice. I'll say support self-determination. Because we all use that word to mean so many things, and we can use that word in this case to mean support people in actually doing what it is they need to do. Thank you. Okay, other question 2.
Okay, in our group, several of the comments were already made, but we believe that having a functional advisory board is key with the right people and the right objectives, which obviously includes having the right community members all community members there with the different potential disabilities, which would also include self-determination. And then our second piece was having funding available for these initiatives to relieve stress. But the problem is that the funding isn't available. We have high turnover, low pay, which enables short-staffed and people that are overburdened.
Thank you. Those are two really important points. They're all important, but we all often forget about funding. Okay, another table 2 group? Over here. Yes, thank you.
We came up with 4 instead 2.
Okay.
The first one was animals, service providers, like service dogs, internet places, raising services providers. I need your help. Oh, disability service providers. PCL is one of the examples that I'm in, and that's partnership community living, and that's one of my services that I have.
So to make sure I get what you've said down in a good way, can you maybe re-say that in just a shorter way for me so I can make it into a note? We've got the captioning capturing it, but it would be helpful to be able to, can you say it in simpler words for me?
PCL is partnership community living, and it's based in Monmouth, Oregon, and it's based on with people with disabilities and their services with their providers.
I'm not sure. Does anybody who was involved with that group want to help me? I'm not hearing very well. I apologize. Help me understand that so that I can get it right. And good job. It's me who's not hearing you very well. You're doing great.
Well, one of the things where the people that were trusted is the service providers.
Got it.
That
Thank you.
are out there. And PCL is one of the service providers out there for people with disabilities.
So I'm extrapolating, which is a big word of saying, I'm sort of taking what you just said to guess that you're saying that the service provider model helps develop trustworthy people for individuals to trust.
Correct. With disabilities, the other industry that we had was like the faith service industries, based organizations that help a variety of different people of color, of origin, that help them through the soup kitchens and all that other stuff. That is another way of building trust in the community.
Good teamwork at your table. Is there another point you wanted to add to this, or did we catch them?
No, yeah, that's pretty much what we had.
All right, good job, that table. Good job,
Thank
teamwork.
you.
I like it. Is there another table 2 hiding from me that I'm not seeing? All right. Yes. Okay.
Okay, question 2. So our 2 top points are that we considered using the trust that's already built in the neighborhoods among people through using the form called Map Your Neighborhood to plan how communication among those disabilities and it can be made throughout the entire neighborhood. And we also consider direct outreach to the people who live outside of a neighborhood setting.
And that's particularly useful for people who live in the rural areas for whom community and neighborhood is established in such a bigger way. Direct outreach. Okay. Thank you. Another table 2? That was like 4. I think we're good. Okay. Yeah, oh yes. Are you guys question 2 as well? Yes. Okay. Right. Not everybody did. So each of you were assigned a question, and so my goal is to get to the tables that were assigned question 2 first. So after we've heard from all of the questions and their numbers, if there are extra comments, I'll come back and capture them. So you were assigned question 2 as well. Got it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Chad Ludwig, and I'm with the Resource Center for Deafness, Regional Resource Center for Deafness. We have 3 tables here that were focused on deaf issues and communicating in ASL, so we combined our tables, but I'll talk about question number 2. We discussed how much do people understand the words inclusivity and diversity. We were looking around the room here, and we were noticing the lack of people of color. Yes. That people who are underprivileged don't even have access to coming to an event like this to have their voices heard. So that means that we're still promoting segregation and disparity between us and other underserved populations.
So I just do want to clarify that.
And the idea that accessibility is a human right and communication is a human right.
And we totally agree. I just want to clarify that there were a lot of monies allocated to try to get people here. I think the failure was in outreach. It wasn't we had money to support attendance. I just want to get that clear. We have to do a better job of exactly what you're saying, making sure we reach the people because we have the funds to be more inclusive.
Mm-hmm. It comes back to the system.
Yes.
And the system that we're building and the system that we're functioning in, it is a white system. So people of color, people with disabilities already feel that they're not included in the system. And oftentimes, when they are invited to participate, there's no funding for them. They're asked to volunteer their time, volunteer their stories, volunteer their energies, but they're the experts because they're living it. So they should be paid as experts. And then when we say, okay, you don't want to volunteer your time, then we're going to build it without you. So it comes back to that system excluding in a number of various ways.
So I shortened that as pay experts inclusively so that we get everybody. I think the cart captured the long version, but we hear you. Okay.
Great.
Those are your 2 top ones?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to question 1. People who had question 1, and whoever's first could read that. And I will reiterate what I said earlier today. I am aware that this room is predominantly white and middle class, and we need to change that. And we had more success traveling around the state to the neighborhoods, and the communities. And I think that somebody mentioned that before. That's one of the secrets, rather than asking people to come to you, and finding and identifying new leadership that's not just us, to be the people who are leading the charge as we go forward. That's what that advisory council we hope will become. So number 1, who's your hand up in the back? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Question 1 is, building upon the recommendations of the statewide focus groups report, what do you think will help ensure the most effective collaboration between your new advisory council and emergency management? And we funneled it down into 2 concise thoughts. The first one being addressing barriers, such as trust, access, time, and childcare, and addressing these with a trauma-informed approach, and information sharing, ensuring that there is a clear feedback loop regarding progress, you're using liaisons in the community, and you're doing the work in a transparent manner.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for waiting for me to finish writing. Okay.
Hey, now.
Second point.
Is blue on? Oh, it is on now. So I had the honor of facilitating this table, and they elected me as their spokesperson as well. So
Okay.
a couple things that this group came up with was community neighborhood assistance and information, outreach and education, to really training not only first responders but community members on the disability community and the needs associated with that during times of disaster. And then the second recommendation, and I think the word respectful was used, and I thought it was an outstanding word to be used here. Respectful interaction, training, possibly certifications with first responders, police, fire, emergency medical technicians, training to the degree that they can better interact with the disability community. And some of the discussion, and we'll catch this on the long version, was possibly integrating, if the advisory committee could integrate maybe some core competencies to train first responders as part of their schooling.
Excellent.
Is there another number one?
There we go, table 1. Okay, get here first.
Okay, so we had listening to real life experiences and understanding different perspectives and using this to move forward. The different perspectives could come from emergency management, first responders, individuals with disabilities, and advocates. Of course, more too, if we found them. The second point was identifying the agencies that were involved and dispelling any misrepresentations and assumptions that we may have on what those agencies do and don't do, and then make sure that those agencies are consistently involved with hopefully the same person when the meeting happens with the council.
Excellent, thank you. I'm sorry that my handwriting's so not good. Okay. Luckily, you've got that electronic transcription that will be available. Thank you.
Our group focused a lot on what the structure of the advisory council would be, and we thought that it should maybe have 4 tiers, one that started at the state level, and then one that focused on regional, and then down to counties, and then the 4th level would either be a rural council or a city council, depending on what that was. And we felt like that in that council there should maybe be some slots for specific organizations, either local or at the state level, that were working in disability rights. And we also felt that the council should be co-chaired by one person from emergency management and one person that represented disability rights.
Thank you. Those are some specific, I'm going to say emergency manager and, okay, shorthand. Yes. Okay, switch over to here.
So we came up with a mandate to force action includes formalizing the requirement for the advisory body, which kind of translated to effective implementation. We not only want to set mandates, but we want them to get done in a timely fashion so that there's results produced. Often we have a mandate, but we don't see the fruit.
Yes.
So we want it to be able to, in an emergency situation, we want it to be able to move quickly. So it has to have effective results.
Thank you.
We also want to see a flow of communication, not just within, but without the advisory body. So we talked a little bit about the same thing, setting up some slots and doing outside resources from a advisory representation group or a resource group, a subcommittee, if you would, that entailed a lot of the disability community that we could refer to. So it includes the disability group, but it also gives us access to other people in the community, whether they be deaf or blind or whatever.
Okay, thank you. So basically you're talking about outreaching beyond traditional channels, which
Correct.
Exactly.
Whether that would
reinforces-
be faith-based, because within and without. We talked about secular being schools, maybe,
Yes.
you know, something, so secular we could go schools, and sacred we could go faith-based, because a lot of the minority communities and the disability communities also are faith-based.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, are there other ones out there? Then we're moving on to 3 in an interesting non-linear number here. We're being neurotypical with our counting, non-neurotypical. Okay,
Hi,
3
Nyla.
in the back.
Hi, Nyla.
Hi.
I'll read question number 3. The statement in the question was the number one theme to emerge from the statewide focus group's report related to developing awareness of emergency services. And the question is, are we aware of preparedness activities that have taken place in our area? But in that, we developed a ground rule, and that was that we would have 3 recommendations instead of 2.
Okay. I love it.
So
that's empowerment.
One would be to, as we work with disability populations, to conduct basic disaster awareness information, provide basic disaster awareness information, ask open-ended preparedness assessment questions, and be prepared to make appropriate referrals.
Okay.
The second recommendation was to utilize broad spectrum communication, so that would be kind of on the tech side, as well as an emphasis on text, but also to the other end of the spectrum is consider person-to-person relationships within neighborhoods and communities. And the third recommendation is to support the universal registry for those with additional needs. So
I'm sorry, support the universe, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, so support developing a universal registry for those with additional needs, so that it increases the awareness of the emergency management community.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, table 3. Just turn myself around here. A little dancing, okay.
Generally, our table was not aware of preparedness activities for people with disabilities, so the answer would be generally no. But it would be great if people with disabilities were, they need to be engaged and used at the beginning of the process, including messaging, so that people with disabilities would be represented in telling the story or telling the message. And then to build the awareness by using trusted partners to broaden the message of inclusive disaster preparedness. And examples of trusted partners would be fire departments, school districts, faith-based communities, to use those partners to go door to door, face to face when possible. And another example in Portland specifically, to use the neighborhood emergency team program to broaden the message to the communities that they serve.
All right, I think that came out looking kind of weird, but neighborhood. Thank you. Okay. Okay, back there. Yes. Actually, let me just switch because my old bones needed a break. Okay, so we were number
right here. Right here. I have a phone right here.
Okay.
Microphone. Okay. We agree with the other 2 groups.
Okay. We agree.
That there wasn't a lot of awareness out there. And we suggested that the best way to get awareness out to the community at large, as well as the community with disability, is to disseminate information in diverse modes of communication, such as, I've got a running list here, TV and radio spots, Facebook booths, middle school curriculum, neighborhood associations, churches, senior centers, doctors' offices, food banks, YouTube channel, Parks and Rec, Oregon Adaptive Sports, retirement communities and apartments, the Eagle Scouts, etc. Those types of things. If it's a broad-based type of communication for people, then people will finally get it. They'll be able to go face-to-face with their own neighbors and community.
Nice list.
And then we thought also that the focus of emergency preparedness awareness should be focusing on an emergency that is relevant to the community, something that is real to them, so that they don't just pass it off and think, oh, the Cascadia will never come. So in order to get people invested in their own safety, it should be about what is relevant to that community. For instance, Central Oregon would be snowstorms. Talk about snow shoveling and getting the snow off your roof and such, and wildfires, things that are relevant so that they can say, yes, this might happen. It happened last year.
Thank you. That kind of fits in with the report where people were saying it's not just natural disasters. Okay, over there.
So So we agreed with everyone else about the lack of awareness, and it's a communication issue. Where we thought a little differently is, as an able-bodied person, I could very easily say for each community what is the best way to communicate with them, but we thought a better idea was to meet with each community and ask them, what is the best way to communicate with you? If there were a situation where we couldn't get you by cell phone or text, how would you want us to approach you, or how do we disseminate this information, and let each community empower or have the empowerment to make that decision and to make that planning for emergency preparedness.
Good. And I think that gets back to the recommendations that you guys were all making about what does inclusion and diversity mean. It's like asking people themselves what works best for them rather than assume. Excellent. Okay. Group number 1 over here. Yes.
Hello. Okay, so our group wanted to also support, someone had mentioned the neighborhood emergency teams in Portland, so we had brought those up as well as outside of the Portland area, the community emergency response teams as a resource that people could access, as well as someone had brought up the 2-week Ready campaign that is apparently funded through FEMA, although I'm not sure if there are local activities around that. One of the other issues that we brought up, though, is especially in rural areas where perhaps there's a hesitance to deal with state organizations, just that those support networks may be more neighbor to neighbor. But one of the things that we really, that sort of brought about was this idea that if you're, there's someone else who brought this up, is the idea of like a registry, like a universal registry. And we had thought perhaps maybe through like brokerage services somehow that you have a larger list so that we can, even like with respect that there might be issues of privacy around that, but that there might be some larger list so we know who to take care of in those moments. So.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for reminding us about privacy issues related to that. I think Kristen has somebody from the field, thank you all, who has some suggestions or comments. Okay.
Yes, hi. I'm actually going to be reporting out on behalf of the 7 wonderful people who were in the group that did the webinar and the phone call. We also addressed question number 3, and our participants on the phone came up with many of the same ideas that were already touched upon here. The importance of trusted messengers, broad engagement, using a variety of outreach methods to make sure that we're getting all folks. A lot of our conversation centered on the best way for people to get involved, and we talked a lot about individual connectivity. So building relationships for resiliency. One of the participants said something that really stuck with me about the best way to support yourself is to build relationships with the people around you, and having that being a really driving message through all of the outreach work that's being done. Another key theme was that support is wanted and needed to put preparedness into action. There's a great hunger for knowledge, resources, trainings, and some really great suggestions were made to utilize existing touch points, relationships and connections that folks already have with service providers, community groups, advocacy organizations that can really keep building this up. There was also an important point that was made about the need to acknowledge that trainings about self-sufficiency and resiliency, preparedness, should take into account that people may find it hard to do this when they are having trouble meeting their basic needs. The message of preparedness could have a hard time really resounding with folks who find it to be a bit of a struggle on the day-to-day to get what they need for their lives. And I just wanted to also put a check mark next to the idea of invincibility. One of our other colleagues here in the room talked about relevant disasters, and we talked about that as well, that there is a feeling of invincibility among folks. There might not be as much of a recognition of the need to prepare when disasters don't feel like they can touch you. And that's all.
Thank you. All right, we are two. I'm going to now sit down. Thank you. Pretty soon I'll be on the ground, right? No. Okay, this works. Group 4, question 4. This is interesting. All right. Out there. That's okay. I'll just give us a second. Got it? Maybe. Trying to tighten this up. Question 4. My tech skills are clearly not up to my thing.
So our question
Go ahead.
was, considering recommendations from the statewide focus groups report as simply a baseline, what advice do you have for emergency managers and their staff who are committed to ensuring more involvement and inclusion of people with disabilities in their communities? One of our focus questions is, what might these emergency planners need to know and learn? And we simply said that there needs to be some sort of way to identify who is impacted by a disability, how many people are impacted, and to try to find those who have a disability that may not be able to self-report.
Thank you. Okay.
And then we were considering some of the challenges that emergency planners could, or managers could face, and we were describing those who may not have traditional methods of communication or who do not share an equal interest. Maybe perhaps people that are anti-government or people who just don't have the resources. It's going to be difficult to identify those people who we can't get, our outreach efforts don't reach them.
Yes. Absolutely. That was, I think, what I was trying to communicate a little bit earlier, that in our outreach efforts throughout the state, it's not, the goal for so-called inclusion, I believe, and disability and diversity for all of us goes so far beyond the concept of class or race, but there are people all over the state, in addition to people who are underrepresented and constantly non-included for those reasons, who are hiding in rural areas, who are at risk, or the homeless people. One of the great homeless leaders in Coos County that was going to come today and lost their rides and couldn't be here talked a lot about the number of veterans, particularly in that county, who are not enrolled in services, who are off the grid, and who have an incredible fear of being left behind or not served in emergencies. And there's a huge distrust for them of government. So our outreach efforts are going to require us to be incredibly creative and engaged, and we've heard some really good strategies for how to begin doing that. Thank you. Sorry. Group 4 again. Yes.
Ensure that emergency managers and their staff have a toolkit that is broad enough to encompass the unique traits of their communities in order to provide trustworthy information.
Succinct. Good one. Okay.
And for 2, network with community leaders, advocates, and allies to identify and take into consideration the broad range of potential barriers and or solutions that can meet the diversity needs of the community.
Excellent. Thank you. Table 4 in the back is happily flagging us. Question. It's not really table 4, it's question 4, isn't it?
Oh, it's on. Okay. So we kind of were in agreement with all of the themes that were discussed with this one. And to kind of piggyback off of something that was already said, we were looking at it from the perspective that Mark King spoke of earlier when he was up on stage, that a lot of the emergency management teams should probably do kind of like a needs assessment of their jurisdictions, find out where the people with disabilities are, and find out what their needs are, and then maybe hold like practice seminars or community forums or something like that, where they can work with those individuals and come up with emergency plans based on that person's needs, whether it's the physical care needs that they need at time of emergency, or whether it's even their cultural needs that they would have at that time. And then we also talked about the array of the jurisdictions. How do the emergency management teams work in collaboration with each other to make sure that when they are really close to the borderlines of the jurisdictions, how do they communicate and work together to make sure everyone is having their needs met instead of kind of falling in between the cracks of two different teams?
Got it. Thank you, wherever you are, CART person, by the way. Thank you for your real-time captioning, because this is so helpful in the back. Thank you. Okay, over here for the table 4, I guess question 4, folks.
So I think most of our ideas have been mentioned, but we have one more. We felt that the Vance video would motivate managers and their staff to include and involve people with disabilities.
We were saying extract the Vance video from the proceedings and use that for public awareness.
Uh-huh, and use for public awareness. Excellent. Okay. Folks out in internet land, anything else to add? Is there another question for table? Yes, okay.
I think everything was reflected already, but we had one that we'll add.
Okay.
Is the possibility of inviting FEMA folks to provide technical assistance, maybe a little bit lower level in some of these plans. And then creation of a toolbox for planners, drawing on the resources of individuals with disabilities themselves, and possibly a funded mandate to require emergency planning to take into consideration access and functional needs planning.
Well, I just love the idea of a funded mandate. So here, that guy's got some work to do there. Okay, does anybody have anything that didn't make it onto any of these boards or into the report that you just feel really passionately needs to be captured while we've got our CART transcriber and my kind of pathetic handwriting to capture that? Anything out there? Okay, going once, going twice. Excellent. Oh, you see, this is what happens. There is one. Okay.
I put this on my evaluation, but I decided I might as well get it out officially. I think it would be very helpful to have a roster of everybody who's been in the room today with their contact information so we can further our networking after today.
All right. And I think that's possible, isn't it? Because we have that information if you registered. If you didn't, then you need to give us the information before you leave so that we can do that. And what a great idea. It kind of gets back to what I'd said earlier, that even if you're not directly involved with the statewide advisory council that's going to be created, the idea to have this information, to network with one another, to reach out and represent the groups that you represent, to help us identify new and emerging leadership from all of the communities that are not in the room today. And I hear it, I see it, we know it. So that will be very helpful. And I just really want to tell you that it was, honestly, I'm so sincere to watch you guys talking and to go around the room and listen to the level of engagement about this issue, especially after we bombarded you with kind of a lot of technical information in the morning, was amazing. It was so exciting. You were working through your breaks. So we know that the level of commitment and the level of interest is incredibly high. So we're counting on you to kind of keep us honest and help us keep this moving forward. So with that in mind, yes, Stan is going to come and he's going to tell you what some of the next steps are likely to be to just that end and kind of say farewell. Thank you so much, you guys.
So before we go any farther, let's give a hand to Nyla. You did an outstanding job today. She's done an outstanding job since she started helping us along our journey. I'll have to tell you this. Back in February during the winter storms, the planning group and Nyla said, we've got this plan. And Nyla said, I'm going to go 4 different places in the month of March, and I'm going to talk to community groups around the state. I'm going to get input and feedback that's going to help us with this meeting today. And I told her about an emergency management conference in Bend in March as well. And she said, I'll do that too. And I went, you're nuts. That's a lot of windshield time. And she pulled it off. And you did a great job, and I appreciate it. So, along with that agenda, just with everything that we're doing, the planning group, the planning committee, and I know some people are still here today, it was a tight agenda all the way through. It was very, very, very busy for a lot of people. So, again, we've got to just give a shout out to the planning group that got us all here today. Now, I'll tell you, I was nervous this morning on how things would go, and I'm not pleasantly surprised. I'm excited of where we're headed. I was so nervous this morning that you saw me read off a piece of paper, and I do have to point out that after I got done, Anna Feigum walked up to me and she said, I didn't know you could read. So, but we do have a lot of information to absorb here today. We've collected a lot of data. Nyla's going to continue to help us and issue us a final report in a few months. And we've already asked and will continue to recruit for people that are interested in being a part of the Disability Advisory Council. If you are interested, capture one of us before you leave here today. Definitely email or write down on a piece of paper and get it to the registration desk on your name, your information, organizational affiliation if you have one, and reasons why you think it's important that you're part of this advisory council. We would love to have an advisory council of everybody in the room, but we know that's not possible. So we do want to make sure that everybody in the disability community is heard. So the assembly of that advisory council is going to be a lot of work ahead. We do plan on keeping momentum moving. There's a lot of things. If you noticed early today with emergency managers that got up here, I can honestly say that table for everything that goes on in disasters, that is the leadership team of Oregon. That's it. Out of all of the Oregonians, that's the leadership team. My team is rather small. We're talking about how we can continue the momentum and getting information out after this meeting with reports, possibly webinars. If you don't see a lot of activity right away, feel free to email this email address and ask. We'll be more than happy to give you an update of where we're at. I think one of the things that's important to understand why things slowed down for a bit is because we're moving into fire season. And it is quite possible that if we get multiple fires happening and multiple things going on, most of the people that you saw up here and a lot of people out in the audience that do emergency management will be rededicated to life safety issues. And that's all we will do. For the Checo Bar Fire, a lot of people put in a lot of hours, but at the beginning of the Checo Bar Fire in 2017, we were very short-staffed. My life for 26 days was 19 hours a day, 26 days in a row, responding as the lead for mass care in Oregon. And that was it. I reassigned all my other work to other managers in DHS. So please understand, when you see that lightning strike, or you hear of a flood, or you hear of a snowstorm, or a train derailment, or any other disaster that happens, we don't forget about the importance of our planning priorities. We get redirected to life safety priorities for Oregonians. So please, it never moves as fast as we like, but we do keep things moving along. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. My card's out on the table too with my phone number on it as well. So looking forward, I've covered a little bit about that today. If you have any ideas about moving forward or things that you would like to see beyond what Nyla caught, please take a note, jot down your notes on one of the notepads, and just drop it off at the registration desk. We'll be here for a little bit after this. and I will hang around until the last person leaves if anybody wants to talk to me. So my commute is very difficult. I reside in, my primary house is in Bend, Oregon. However, I'm over in Salem 70% of my life. So my apartment is just a block up the road. So I don't have to worry about a commute, and I'll wait till everybody goes. I tell everybody I have a vacation home in Bend where my wife lives. So the other thing I wanted to point out as far as how we get spread pretty thin, you'll notice if you look around, Akiko Sayato is not here, Andrew Phelps is not here, and Matt Marhine is not here. This afternoon, unbeknownst to us when we scheduled this, the Public Utilities Commission is having a meeting on power outages during fire season. That's near and dear to a lot of our hearts. I've heard people talk about it today. Because of the small bandwidth that we have, I think Andrew is in Portland working on something unrelated to both of those things. I asked Akiko. Akiko went over to the meeting, and she's participating in that meeting, and Akiko and I will meet after that so that I get caught up on everything through the Public Utilities Commission and those power outages. So we really do work as a team, and we collaborate, and sometimes we can't be everywhere at once. So they would have liked to have been here all day, but that's not always possible. So with that, I think we're getting done early. How is that? All this great work, and we get out of school early? Yeah, that's right. So I want to spend a special thank you to everyone. Can we get a microphone over to Bryce, possibly? I want to send a special thank you for everybody that participated out in virtual land. Again, everybody turn around and wave and say thank you to them. They don't get the full experience, but they did participate, and we did get a lot of great information to them. Kristen, Anna, Shelley, Emily, Nyla, and the rest of the group, thank you so much. Bryce, what do you got? The lemon lime one is broke. All right, we're back in business.
Okay. Actually, I just wanted to jump in here one more time before everybody else bails out of the room, because I actually have a request. And that is, at the Oregon Department of Education, of course, as I mentioned a little earlier, we are trying to ramp up this program and the training that we are going to be going around the state and delivering to all 197 school districts on the development and implementation of emergency operations plans. And in the federal grant that we obtained that funds this work, one of the key measurables that we have to report out on is the extent to which we deliver training related to access and functional needs in the development of the EOPs, or the emergency operations plans. My background, I'm very ignorant in this area, I'll just be honest, and I don't have any subject matter expertise in this area. And there are a lot of people here in this room who do. And I would love to tap and leverage some of that expertise as we go forward. So my request is, before you leave, if you have key insights, considerations, things that you believe we should be thoughtful of and mindful of and focus on as we go forward and we develop this training and we roll it out, I would love it if you would come and let me know or exchange contact information so I can be in touch with you later on. I think we're all well aware that communication is an imperative. I know that there are a lot of others out there, and we want to do the absolute best job we can in helping the schools around the state develop high-quality, comprehensive emergency operations plans that serve the needs of the entire student population. And we can't do that unless we have, once again, unless we're tapping the expertise, the diverse expertise of groups like this and people who are participating in events like this. So to whatever extent you're willing and able to help us and give us some good information, once again, hit me up before you leave, before I leave, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.
Bryce, am I back on? Bryce, with all of the love in the world, and we'll pick it up on the cart services and we'll put it in our notes. Before you turn that microphone off, do you want to share your email address with everybody so if they can't catch you afterwards that they can at least shoot you an email?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty easy. My first name, BRYCE.McKenna, MCK, ENNA at state.or.us. So I'm in the state email directory, bryce.mckenna at state.or.us. You're welcome to email me. I'm working with Jeremy Wells, who's over here. He's the one who's been getting me up to speed at ODE. He's been fantastic. We have other people at ODE who are great and giving me a lot of insights, but I'm wanting to cast a wide net for assistance in this program and in this project as we get it off the ground.
Excellent. And for the CART services, that is Bryce with a B, Bravo, instead of E Echo. But you have done an outstanding job wherever you are at in capturing everything that's going on in the room. So thank you for being there and documenting this event. So with that, I do know if you did not get up and wander out back, there were some snacks out there. I want you to take them on the road. I want you to have safe travels. Thank you so much for participating today. It means a lot to all of us.